All right, hi. Thank you all so much for coming. I am Brian Cox with Pencil Point Theater Works, and we are really happy that you're here sharing this time and space with us. This evening we're going to do some live storytelling. You're going to hear two stories, one by Mary Hess and one by Judith Slater. All the photographs, and you have one, so you'll do one too. So all the stories are based on photographs. They're inspired by photographs, personal. And at Pencil Point, we believe in the power of storytelling. We think it is a great way to connect as humans and to learn about what it means to live on this globe, right? We all go through loss, we all have love, we all have the tribulations of life. And these stories help remind us that we're not alone. So our first story is going to be by Mary. She's going to tell a story of about her mother and her father and growing up at a difficult time. You ready, Mary?
Yes.
All right, come on up.
Thank you. This is my picture, my classroom picture at Millen's Corners near Moscow, Michigan. And I was 8 years old. And it was taken the day my mother died.
Oh.
I am the baby of 8 children, and I mean the baby. My brother was 25 years older than I. And my sister, who would have been next to me in age, was Orbel. And she was 7 years older than I. After Orbel was born, my mother had a stroke in her 40s. So it was kind of, with everybody else, a conclusion. There would be no more children. Well, my sister, my big sister, came in to see my mom, and my mother met her at the door, and she said, "I'm not pregnant, it's a tumor." Voila, before you is a 200-pound tumor. So Pa was not very popular after that.
Pardon?
My mother, I was to have my pictures taken, and my mother did French braids. How you put this in, it looks so cool. And I was so proud and excited. The morning my mother died, about probably 6 o'clock in the morning, I heard my mom out on the back porch going, "Oh, Harry, I can't breathe. I can't breathe." My pa came out and took her in the back bedroom. He was to go to get the doctor, and he told my sister, who was then 15, Orbel, "You stay with your mother." So as she told me later, as she was sitting there, she could hear gurgling noises coming from Ma. And she had heard stories about the death rattle. And she couldn't stay there. So she went to the living room and turned on music real loud. Well, needless to say, when Pa and the doctor got home, Mother had passed. So my Pa said, "You're going to school." He had a lot of things, I'm sure, to do. I said, "But I can't." I said, "My braid came apart." And he said, "Well, come on over here." So he braided it like a rope. So I have it. And I went to school. There were some girls that were kind of giggling because it was a one room and pointing at me. And the teacher went over and explained that Ma had passed away. So the classroom picture was taken. Later, of course, in the week, there was the funeral home. I'd never been to a funeral, 8 years old. Mother was in the casket, and people would say, "Oh, she looks so good. Ada looks so good." I don't know. And of course, you got to remember that 70 years ago, children were to be seen and not heard. So I'm standing there, and I go, all the questions. I wonder if they close the lid at night so the lights aren't in her eyes. And if she looks, "You're beautiful, Ma. Are you coming home?" Things that go through our head. Well, in that time, behind me, my big sis, had relatives. And she said, you know, Mom should have never had Mary. Mary killed Ma. She was in no shape to have. I'm going, oh my God, I killed my mom. Oh, wow. So, of course, the funeral's over. And the family that had been 4 is now 2. Because my 15-year-old sister, Orbel, didn't get along with my pa. So she went to live with my mother. And there were times when I would get on Pa's lap and I'd say, Pa, if I was a nurse or I helped people, you and Ma would be proud, wouldn't you? He said, I'm always proud of you. And I'd get a big bear hug. And I went on, of course, into bed. And my pa missed my mother so much. She was a very strong, sturdy German. And when he'd get out of hand, she'd just put her hand and say, that's enough, Harry. Well, that stop was gone. And his temper doesn't have a stop sign. So, as it was, I wanted so much for my mother to be proud, and my pa to be proud too, because you have to understand, years ago, he wanted all sons. Well, God made a trick on him because he had 1 son and 7 girls. But those girls became a WAC in World War II, a Union steward, a politician, and, you know, so we would have made them proud. I must tell you, the picture now is an invitation. And it says, guess who's 50? My brother, who was living, he would have been 75, was living in California. They wanted to have a surprise birthday party. And my sister came up from Florida, another sister from Tennessee, and my brother, and we had a big surprise party at Lighthizer. And of course he said, you know, I gotta tell you, Mary, this is the last shindig probably we're gonna be at. And it was wonderful. But little did they know that the invitation, the picture they used, had such strong feelings. And that is why it is my picture and the story behind it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. I know it's not always easy to tell a story that's personal, and that means a lot to us. And it takes great courage to stand up in front of friends and even strangers and share that. But we really appreciate it because it touches something in us. So that was wonderful. Our next story is going to be by Judy. She's going to tell a story about finding the smile in her. All right? Judy, come on up.
Smile, though your heart is breaking. Smile, even though it's waking. I imagine you all can identify with that song. I thought I should have identified with it when I was going through a very frightening and dangerous divorce, but I forgot to smile. I forgot that song. I forgot that part of me that is full of life and joy. Until one day I walked past a bulletin board in the middle of this frightening time, and there was a picture of a clown, and at the bottom of the poster it said, "Clown Class." And for some reason, something in me, that little still small voice, you know, that won't let us go, said, take that class. So I did. And this is Valentine. This is who came out of the class. I named her Valentine because I believe that people are not afraid when you express love to them, when you really pay attention. My clown, as you can see, wore a red jumper, red felt hat, a heart on each cheek, and I carried those cheap little candy hearts that said, be mine, you know, be my Valentine, I love you, and I would hand those out. And I found that people I could approach them because I had a persona with the hearts and with the reaching out and hugging that let them know that they were safe. And there was a lot of smiling. Of course, I didn't think of the song then, but I really did think about, I need this. This was my therapy. And for about 10 years, I did clowning. I was back east and went to a children's hospital where parents would give me permission to go in and put on my clown outfit in front of a sick child, because usually children are afraid of clowns. And this would let them see the transition, not only getting the outfit on, but also the makeup. And they would dip their fingers in this white goo, which is very hard to get off your face. And they would dot their faces, and then we'd make faces at each other and share a tremendous amount of love with each other. But as time passed and, my joy returned, really wasn't paying attention to how my clown Valentine had made that difference. It just seemed so natural for me to do clowning. But there was another phase of my life to happen where I moved across the country, and I'd had some experiences in my personal family with some hospice help. And I loved it. I thought there was nothing like the hospice people. They also knew how to bring joy and tremendous compassion. And as a result of my own personal experience in a death in the family, I decided to become a hospice volunteer. So I want to tell you about Ruby. She was my favorite hospice patient. When Ruby and I talked on the phone for the first time before we met, I asked her, when we meet for lunch, how am I going to know you? And she said, oh, you're going to know me. She'd been diagnosed with brain cancer. And of course, she didn't have any hair because of the treatment. So I go into the restaurant. Sure enough, here is this wig on the table of the restaurant. And here is this bald-headed, beaming woman who certainly knew how to smile. She really brought out those smiles in me. It was a fabulous relationship. And she said, I sold my house, and I asked the owner to let me rent it back until I die, because I wanted to take all that money and buy a red Cadillac convertible, which she did. And at the time, she was still able to drive. So I would come down from where I was living, get in the car with her, and go on these little fun drives. But as time passed, she became less and less able to drive. So I would think of little trips to take. And our favorite trip, of course, now I'm not in clown, but she's in joy. She just was full of it, and it was so good for me. Our favorite trip was to go to the university where there's a Greek theater, and they were going to have a concert and fireworks. It was the 4th of July. And Ruby was laid on the grass in front of the stage on a blanket because she was really, really disabled by now. So she lay on her back and looked up at the fireworks and listened to this incredible concert. And I cherish that memory. It just brought her so much joy. Well, then when Ruby died, I guess you're not going to believe this part of my story because it's really uncanny. Her daughter called me and said, Mom left something for you. And it was a clown outfit. Now, mind you, we had never, the two of us, shared that part of our lives. The story that we both became clowns in awful, awful times. And that's exactly why she'd become a clown, because she realized that she needed to smile. Her clown outfit was a white onesie, had big ruffles, big shoes, red nose, bright red curly wig, ruffles here, ruffles there, and her clown was Sprinkles, and my clown was Valentine. But now she's gone, and I couldn't express to her that this story that I had to tell about myself was also her story. She had gone through a very difficult time in her life and also decided she needed joy and became a clown. You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you'll just smile. Thank you.
I love that story because when she first told it to me, I said, there's no way she gave you a clown outfit. There's no way. I don't believe that. It's true. It happens. Here's going to be our next story. Right, Francis?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing. This is what I love about this. I have no idea what this story is.
Oh.
So come on up. Let me see the picture.
Okay.
Let me make sure it's decent.
Here's the picture.
Oh, very good. Okay, it's decent. Well, you can tell. Can we get that on the camera? Can you get? Yeah. 'Cause it's kind of, okay, good. All right. So can everybody see this is the picture? See that? Looks like three friends, maybe.
This was like a family gathering, kind of a reunion, and these are my nieces. And when they walked in with those big knapsacks, and I thought, all the way through a girl's life, there's a purse. Purses are so symbolic of females. And so what I did, this is a little different, is then after that happened, I wrote a poem about, so here's my poem, which is called Purses. Little girl with a purse, just like mommy, says she, inside are some pennies, I can count them, 1, 2, 3. A pencil, some paper, my purse grade 3, to slip a note to my friend, only her eyes may see. Pretty teen, off to the prom with lipstick, a comb, and in her sparkly fancy party bag, and of course a cell phone. Yeah. Now, a grown-up young lady, first job, working hard, purse holds the proof, her own credit card. The bride is so beautiful. A hush fills the room. In her purse of white satin, a ring for her groom.
That's so nice.
Thank you. Thank you.